Damien, how you doing, pal?
Not too bad, you?
Brilliant, buddy. Brilliant. Thanks so much for coming on, by the way. I'm super chuffed about this one.
No,
So
no, no problem.
just when you'd said like you don't generally do a lot of these, like honestly, it's a real pleasure to have you.
No, but yours just sounded like a little bit different. So obviously, probably just a little bit more interesting than the usual questions.
No pressure, mate. Right, guys, we are joined today, and as I say, I'm super chuffed to have Damien Trainor, multi-time world Thai boxing champion, and do you know, one of the main reasons why I was so keen to get you on was just how technical a coach you are, Damien, and how technical your videos are and the content that you put out. So I was really excited to get you on and actually talk about that sort of stuff as well. But we were chatting this morning actually before we come online about Instagram pulling music off of the recordings
Yeah.
that we do for videos, and that made me think about a good place to start this morning, which was this. So that music. So I'll tell everybody who's sort of tuning into the episode today what music we're actually talking about. So Damien, it was actually you that I copied this off of, believe it or not.
Okay.
Anytime Damien's putting technical instruction videos on Instagram or on social media, one of the soundtracks that he uses is from the old Van Damme kickboxer movie, and it fits perfect for martial arts, so it does. But sometimes Instagram will come up and say that maybe they've lost the rights to the music, or you don't have permission any longer, and it kind of takes your videos down. So that made me think about that. And what I'm thinking, Damien, is how how annoying is it still to Thai boxers like yourself when things are still uh, when the martial art is still called kickboxing, and how do people still see Thai boxing as kickboxing, and does that terminology annoy you guys in the Thai boxing
You
community?
know what? Like, because I've been in it for so long, and people say, "Oh, is it like kickboxing that you do?" I just kind of go, "Yeah." Like, I've got way past the where it annoys me. Like when I was younger, it obviously would like get to me, and obviously, oh no, it's different. I have to kind of explain it. But
Yeah.
I'm just at a point in my life now where, yeah, it's kickboxing. I'm not bothered trying to explain it to them anymore.
I obviously come. I said this to you before. I come from a Taekwondo background, and that's the same. It's like sometimes people are leaving phone looking for classes, maybe for their children, and oh, is it like karate you do? Yeah, yeah, it's karate. Bring them down, and it's just the same. But I guess sometimes it depends. Do you not find though that you are one of these people who are putting so much into Thai boxing, Muay Thai, that sort of culture from Thailand, that art is missing out on things a wee bit, like because of its lack
It,
of recognition. If that makes sense.
I think it's a little bit different now because obviously with the kind of explosion of like MMA, it's
Yeah,
kind of like highlighted like Muay Thai like quite a lot, and then obviously then you've got like a one championships as well, which
yeah.
again is kind of like getting eyes on Muay Thai, and then like I don't know if you remember, but say maybe almost 20 years ago, nobody knew what Muay Thai was. You had
Yeah.
to refer to it as Thai boxing. But like
Hmm.
now, Muay Thai is obviously people understand like what it is. But then I think as well, because of MMA, you've got like a lot of like martial art practitioners that aren't that interested in their traditions. They just want to do the sport kind of thing. So I think in some aspects, it's losing a little bit, obviously for the gyms, because like the gym to try and stay, I suppose what would be commercial, you've got to kind of cater for everyone. And
Yeah.
if you try and push too much tradition on people, it can upset some people. If you don't have enough tradition, again, it can upset some other people. So you've got to kind of get like a happy medium.
Yeah. Do you know, I'm just put a wee asterisk beside that because uh one championship and the 4 ounce gloves and the cage and that progression of where a lot of Thai boxing and mixed martial arts has went into one championships. I'll come back to that because that's something really interesting that, or I hope we find interesting, that uh I want to chat to you about. Where I really want to start today, actually, now we've got a wee moan about Instagram out the road, is this is a question that I've kind of touched on in the podcast before with lifelong martial artists and fighters, especially like yourself. But just to sort of set the scene here, as I say, the majority of my experiences is in what I think people still call the traditional martial arts, like Taekwondo and Karate and these things. And I've done a wee bit of sort of, I wouldn't even call it a wee bit. I've hit some pads and stuff, training in Muay Thai, but just occasionally. But when I was watching you, I found your fighting style, and now especially your coaching style and the content that you put out on social media to be really intelligent. And to me, that's no surprise because I've been around martial arts and I know what sort of people are actually in it. But to the outside community, I'm trying to get someone to give me a really good answer, like yourself, to the question of, you could probably, from what I've seen, have done many different things with your life, but you chose to be a full-time fighter, a full contact fighter, with all the dangers and the commitment and everything that comes with that. So I think my question actually is, when did you make the decision that you wanted to commit to this thing that was going to torture your body? And what's that actual thing in someone's mind that makes them want to commit to being a fighter like that? Because it's not for everybody, obviously.
No, I started last year when I was 14. I kind of had belief in myself that I'd be good before I even started.
Okay.
So like I started training. I believed I picked things up like quite well. After a while, like my coach said, would I be interested in having a fight? So yeah, go on then. Obviously, I had the fight, and then my I kind of knew from then, oh, this is something I want to kind of get into. And obviously, back then, the sport was still very much in its infancy in the UK. In our club, we had like a few like area champions, like the Midland area. So obviously, my kind of goals are I want to be like a Midland champion. So I kind of just kind of like set my like goals up, but then I was scheduled to fight for the Midland title, and as it was getting closer to the fight, I started thinking, you know what, that's small. I want bigger, and it just kind of progressed from there. But I think a lot of it's just like really, I just kind of knew from after my first fight, this is like something that I want to keep doing. And
Yeah.
obviously, I think I kind of like carried on. I think I put in a post before when I kind of first thought it was like to test myself. Then it's to kind of like it's like to get somewhere and like, but then it progressed to want to be remembered. So just kind of you've got to keep adding like
Yep.
anything in life. You've got to have like a high target, but then you've got to give yourself milestones on the way up there. Otherwise, you're not really going to see any kind of progression.
Yep.
So from there, that's all I did, and obviously that just kept my hunger because I still hadn't reached where I wanted to get to.
Do you think there's a difference in you as a person between? I've never fought full contact, and kind of always. I think if you fight semi-contact the way that I did in Taekwondo and the sort of open kickboxing tournaments, there's always that wee bit of you saying, "Oh, I wonder if I could," or "I wonder if I would even like to." But you must be different from me because I had access to full contact fights. So you're different from the majority of martial artists who practice now, who don't fight full contact and who don't actually put their well-being on the line. So how are you different? How are people like yourself and any of the
Do you know
full
what?
fighters
Uh,
different?
I kind of think that we probably aren't that different. The only difference I can kind of think of right now is I wasn't what's the word? I went straight into a full contact system, so I
Yeah,
didn't see a light contact system. So that was alien to me, if you know what I mean. Like it's
yeah,
just
of course.
something that was never. I only knew full contact from the word go. So I think that's if I'd have started in a different style and that's what the competition was then, maybe I'd have gone down that route. I don't know, but because I only knew full contact, that's just obviously what I went into.
I think you're being humble there. I think most full contact fighters that sort of mention that because I don't think you can, even watching on the TV or in my classes, I do a lot of pad work and I do a lot of work with the gloves on. Uh, even sitting gloves, the people they're watching on YouTube will see this, but if you're just listening, just sort of placing the gloves on the side and taking contact, whether it be leg kicking or midsection kicking, because you can't really feel it or understand it until that contact's being made, whether that's the person hitting or the person sort of taking the hit. So as I say, having done that at our level or the standard that most Taekwondo practitioners or Kung Fu or kickboxing or any of these guys that aren't full contact, I definitely think there's something special about you guys. Or crazy. It depends on the way you look at it. It depends on the way you look at it, to actually take that last step of putting yourself forward like that. I mean, how do you cope with the fear of that? Or was there any fear that you would be hurt as opposed to just losing the match? Or
See, obviously, even now, like, I'll get asked by some of like my fighters that are coming through. Did I used to get nervous before I competed? And obviously, the answer is yes. Everyone does. Anyone says they don't, they're obviously a bit crazy. A lot of my not fears, but a lot of my obviously things where I got nervous before the fight wasn't about getting hurt. It wasn't really about the opponent. Like I've only ever had two opponents where I was actually kind of worried about them, but everything else was more. I was concerned about if I didn't perform properly.
yeah,
That was my biggest kind of like what I was concerned about. If like, what if I don't fight well? What if I don't do this? Like if I lose to someone who's better than me on the day, that's fine.
yeah.
If I lose because of I didn't do something, then that's what's gonna like eat at me. So that's what got me concerned about getting hurt. It's just part of the game. Like that's what I've chose to do. Just have to deal with it.
I think maybe that's us getting to the actual point there, that you see that and any sort of full contact fighter. I mean, I know we'll come back to one later on, so I want to spend a wee bit of time on one championship with you, but whether it be Harrison or Haggerty or yourself when you were fighting full contact, and these guys are posting up on Instagram with, like, I know one of the fights that Liam had, both shins are completely split to pieces. Faces are in bits and etc. etc. And I don't know whether some people will look at that. Joe Public would look at that and say, "Oh, that's ridiculous. That's horrible." What I see that from the other side, I see that with full respect. And as I say, there's something that makes you. Do you remember that time on the UFC years ago when Dana White was saying, "So you want to be a fighter? Like this is what it actually takes to be a fighter." I think you guys are definitely special in a way, as I say, or crazy that just opens up your mind to thinking that that's just normal.
Well, I said like there when you've just kind of mentioned with like Liam with the split shins, and but in the first thing I just thought of was it's just a cut, like it's nothing, it's not major, like it's a cut, that's it. But I have seen some like quite bad injuries that can happen, but they're quite rare as long as the matching is done properly.
Yeah.
Like a cut's not really that bad.
Do you see fighters coming through your gym? And do you see people coming into the gym wanting to be fighters, and then as you're coaching them, you see that fighters?
I'll be honest, most people that come into the gym wanting to be a fighter does not last. So I don't think they actually realised how hard it is to train. Most of the people, and even like myself, people generally they come, they start training, they enjoy it, then they, oh, you know what, I might have a fight. Anyone that walks in, I want to fight professionally, they've got no idea, and they last a couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
then they go.
And what are you looking for then? I think that's the point I'm trying to sort of investigate there. Like, do you even for our talking about my own sort of Taekwondo school, we've got quite a good bunch of young guys at the minute and girls. And we'll enter sometimes semi-contact kickboxing championships like WKC, WK, those sort of point stop kickboxing and
Yeah.
continuous kickboxing. But I see some of the guys, and I just know. Someone said this to me years ago, actually. One of my older students said to me, there's two types of people. There's people who come in and they get they get their first punch and they take a step back and they think, oh, I didn't like that. And then you've got other percentage of people who, as soon as they take that first punch, their automatic reaction is to take a step forward. Because some people like it just automatically and some people don't. Do you look for that in your fighters? Will you see that maybe before they do? Maybe they don't realise that for them.
Yeah, obviously fighting, like you said earlier, is not for everyone. So obviously you can see, like, I've had some people where, because obviously at my club as well, we don't spar hard. Like it's light sparring, probably about 60, 70% at most. Like it's very steady. But I've even had people that when they have their first sparring session and it's quite light, they kind of don't come training that often. And, you know, like it's just not for everyone. Then you got people where that they only want to spar. But for me, with like looking for fighters or people that I think could fight quite well, I don't just look for the technical attributes or like if they've got like the will to fight as well. There's a lot of things that I want to kind of assess before I even entertain the idea of them, like obviously discipline. I want to make sure they're coming to class, they're able to take instruction, so they have to listen to me. You know, like it's just not just about someone who can actually fight. They've got all these other avenues that they have to pass through before I even kind of like approach them to say, would you be interested in fighting? I've had some people say, oh, look, I mean, I want to have a fight. When do you think I can have a fight? And I say, oh, not yet. You have to watch you a little bit more first because there's other things that I need to make sure are in place. Because fighting's not nice, really. It's quite hard. It's difficult. So obviously, I need to make sure that obviously, when you're representing myself in the club, I need to make sure that you can obviously look after yourself and you can take instruction. I know you're going to turn up to class, so I know you're going to be fully prepared. So it's like there's a big thing that I look for.
Yeah, it's people that listen to the show regularly, they'll probably roll their eyes that I'm going to say this again, but I genuinely don't write questions down from my guests. I just write points and things that then the conversation can hopefully flourish from there. But one of the things that I wrote down, and Damien hasn't seen my notes, just to confirm, is discipline. I've actually got it scored under here. One thing I've been speaking to my own students about is my own experience since the sort of COVID lockdowns, and I realised it took me a few months to realise that most of my own training came from being motivated and inspired by things. So before the lockdowns, we would travel quite a lot, or there'd be a tournament, or there'd be a grading or something that was inspiring me and motivating me to train hard. And then during the lockdown, when all of that went away, and again, I don't mind admitting this, even as the sort of head instructor in quotes, because I think it's important that we share our experiences so that our students can then feed off of that too. That the discipline was lacking, because I know this is quite cliched now, but motivation goes, inspiration goes, but the discipline can't go. And I found I was having to really, and still to this day, fighting to try and maintain any sort of discipline to keep my own training up. So I think the question is, what's your thoughts on how important discipline in all aspects are over motivation and inspiration?
Obviously you've probably seen I do like questions and answers like quite regular on Instagram. And obviously a lot of the ones that I get regularly is like, what's the most important things to becoming pro? And I'll say it's discipline. And I think there was a quote from Mike Tyson. He basically says that you've got to do something that you hate, but do it like you love it, which is discipline. So you've got to. I think it's massively important, but not just in training, but in anything. If you want to be successful in anything, you've got to be disciplined, and you've got to do it. And obviously, I'll refer it back to fight training. Most people don't like running. Some people do, but most people don't like running. So you've got to get up and go running. You know, when you go to the gym, it's going to be a hard session. It's quite easy to stay at home, but you've got to be disciplined. Like if you want to get anywhere, you have to go to the gym. You have to work hard. And again, with any of your training, you can make it as hard or as easy as you want. So it's up to you to be disciplined to push yourself if you obviously want to get into like fight condition or like prepared for the fight. And then even not just with fighting side, but like with the gradings and and
Yep.
certain things you've got to practice. Like a lot of things that I try to kind of like say to my students as well is I can only do so much on the class. The rest of it you've got to go and practice yourself as well. It's no different to being at school. You got your work, then obviously then you got your coursework, then you'd have your exam. So you've got to kind of, I'll show you this. You have to go away, practice this. When you come back to class, I'll correct it if it needs correcting, and then so on. So like it's not just about what I'm going to give you all the time. You've got to go and put the work in yourself.
Yeah. When you were fighting, obviously the motivation and the inspiration was that. So how long? Let's say you knew you were fighting for a world title. How long would your official training camp be for that?
You see, so like for me, because like I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't go off the rails or anything. So like it's very easy. Like I could get ready for a fight in about 6 weeks because I was always in the gym anyway. So it's not like I'm starting from scratch. But I think me personally, I don't like the term fight camp.
Okay.
MMA's kind of ruined a lot of things in that aspect where your novice fighter now thinks he needs 12 weeks to prepare for a bout when
Yep.
in reality, when you're starting out, you should be in the gym all the time. You don't have to work hard all the time. You have to be in the gym all the time, training, getting better. So you should be in a position where I can say, I've got a fight for you in 3 weeks. Do you want to take it? Yes. Not, oh, who is it? How long have I got? I need
Yep.
12 weeks to prepare. Like you should. So when you're starting out, you should be in a position so you can take fights quickly because you don't know where that fight can take you. Yeah,
Yep.
because you could have a fight. I've got a fight for you in 3 weeks. Then that fight, you take it. That could open a door to one championships or, like, so you need to be in a position where you can take fights quickly. When you get to the top, then you'd have specific fight camps because you've got fights set for that year.
Yep.
Makes sense. So as you get more experienced, um, the fights get bigger, so they're coming up, so you can prepare solely for that opponent. When you're building up, you've got to go in. I remember I went to train at Hemish Gym in Holland when I was a kid, when I was about 18,
Right.
where Roman Decker's trained. I remember talking to his coach, Core, and he was saying that like when you're younger, you can have like 20 fights a year, which I thought was a bit excessive, but 20 fights a year.
Yep.
And then but he says, but as you get bigger, you'll have like two or three, but there'll be big fights, which is the same thing. You've got to get the experience in, and then
Yep.
obviously once you're at the top, then they're more important fights to kind of keep hold of your belt or fight for the belt or fight bigger like opponents.
Do you know you've hit the nail on the head, Damien, there because that's, and I'm really glad that's the way you sort of put that because without the discipline, you're not going to be ready in 3 weeks. So I look at people like, and again, we can cover traditional martial artists here, Muay Thai fighters, mixed martial artists like yourself, never out of shape. Uh, that's not motivation for you now. That's the discipline that you understand the benefits that keeping yourself in shape has to your overall life. You don't smoke, you don't drink, you train all the time. You don't have world championship fights to be motivated by now. So you're choosing to be disciplined to maintain that standard of living. The other one that pops to mind is GSP. So moving over to sort of mixed martial arts, like you see George St. Pierre training all the time. As yourself, that's the point. You are a martial artist. It's not that you're just training for a fight, you're training for martial arts' sake. And I think that's where, as I say, I'm still sort of struggling with that. I think a lot of people, even coming to your sort of Thai boxing gym or to my Taekwondo class, we laugh about it. If there's a grading in a fortnight, you walk into the school and it's row after row after row of people, and they've got a reason to be there. But the reason surely should be just for the martial arts, should it not?
Yeah, I think a lot for me as well now. I try to train because I want to be able to move around still, especially if I'm coaching. I want to be able to do
Yeah.
what I'm asking other people to do. So I want to be able to still move. And then like when I kind of look at like some of the other coaches that are of similar age and they can see that they're struggling to lift their legs up now as they're getting a little bit older and this, that, and the other. So But for me, I feel like my motivation now is to still be able to do it, if you know what I mean. So I want to be
Yeah,
disciplined so I can still coach to like a decent level.
yeah. What just before we move on for that sort of subject, what advice would you give then? Like if someone had just finished up their fight career, and they were pretty happy that they were satisfied that they were done. I know a lot of people will come back because they missed that. But what's the key to that? Like what keeps you? You've obviously got a successful gym now, full-time facility, uh, your own students. You've got this brilliant reputation, well earned, obviously. You've got a huge social media following. You could just maybe take a few mornings off, you know? Do you know what I'm saying there? It's like, well, I'll go to the gym later because. But what's that bit of advice you would give someone to stay doing that basic stuff that you keep doing that keeps you where you are? I think that's the.
It'd be especially for fighters. Obviously, most people that compete to like a high level, they've set themselves a goal and they've got the milestones to get there. They just need to get that because they've already got that mindset. They just need to put it to something else. So again, they need to have that goal, get the milestones, and obviously then if it's training, so the one in successful schools, obviously they're still going to be able to train, but then they have to look at obviously how to run the gym as well. Because again, you can be a good coach, but if you don't know how to run a gym, it's going to fall apart and vice versa.
Yep.
So they just need to have. They've already got the mindset. They've proven it. They just need to kind of put it somewhere else. And I feel that a lot of fighters don't know what to do after they've finished competing because they've put so much emphasis on the
Yep.
fight. They haven't really give the after part that much thought. And obviously, I've been quite lucky to where I've been at the same gym since I very first started. I've worked at the gym since I left school. So my coach trained me how to teach and run a gym as well as the other things. So obviously, I'm quite fortunate where I've had an avenue to go that way.
Yep. The just as a little compliment again, I guess, as I say, like, so I'm 41 now. I've done martial arts since I was 5, so I've seen a lot, and I've seen a lot of coaches. But as I say, the thing that draws me to your page most often is that teaching, is that I steal stuff. I think every good coach should steal stuff. So I'll be on your Instagram and just see just a wee step out or I was watching a video this morning actually regarding the leg kick and just bending that sort of the standing foot a wee bit more to bring the weight over, just wee things like that. So I think you've obviously got a really sound technical teaching expertise, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So as I said, that was just a wee side compliment as we're going there. But how much does your martial arts and your students' martial arts play in or play a part in maintaining good mental health? That's something we talk about. And I think we should be talking about it more and more. But even my own students are coming to me now, especially during lockdown as well, saying, "Do you know what? Like my classes online or my martial arts was the thing that that really kept me sane, sitting in the house for all that time." Like, how
I
much
think
apart?
a lot of it's yeah, I think a lot of it's obviously Sam's kind of almost everything seems to be kind of like but coming down to the same thing where obviously you've got to have a goal and you've got to be focused. So again, you've got to be disciplined. So
Yeah,
again, with the obviously the online stuff, that would have kind of give someone obviously one an outlet for obviously some exercise, which obviously you feel good after anyway. But then it kind of they've got that kind of like discipline to be able to come to it, give them some focus, take the mind off all the other stuff that's going on at the same time. But then like coming back to like a gym aspect, you've got all of that again, but then you've got people that are like-minded that you kind of bounce off. So like if because obviously at my gym, um, there's no egos. There's no one thinks better than anyone else. Everyone kind of gets on. Everyone enjoys it. Everyone helps each other. It's just
yeah,
like a good environment to be in. And obviously, because it's a nice environment to be in, everyone's very happy when they come in. Like I said, they're bouncing off each other, and they've all kind of got like a similar goal in mind, where obviously they want to obviously get to the best of their ability.
yeah. It's I I think that the public who don't train in martial arts miss out on, or not that they miss out on it, that they don't fully understand is what you've just said. I mean, for many people that come to the martial arts schools and gyms and clubs, it's like a home away from home. And as I say,
Yeah.
you're with like-minded people, and people do find sort of sanctuary and solitude, and they feel good there. And I think people just think it's punching and kicking a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
they miss out on the actual mental aspects of it. And you've just spoke about that yourself there. But is there
But
time?
again, like if you look at see people that they like to go to the pub.
Yep,
So most of the time it's not really to go and have a drink, it's to socialize. But they go to the gym, they train, and so like they're getting the same thing, which is just a lot more beneficial, obviously with the physical training. But then obviously you get to see all your mates, and again you can have a laugh and a joke, train together, and so like it's obviously the gym's a great place. The gym's also a place where you'll get people that probably would never have spoke to each other outside because they come from completely different backgrounds,
yep,
but they're all in the gym. They've all got the same like same things to be interested in, and they just kind of get to know each other and they become friends, and it's just a great like melting pot.
yep. That's a brilliant point, actually. The I say this, I try and comment on this on social media quite a lot, but we've got Protestants, Catholics, Muslims, Jews, everybody, straight people, gay people, everybody, all within that one environment. And seeing a
Yeah,
time where everything's so polarized at the minute. I keep talking about this, and it's brilliant you've mentioned it, because you just come in and you've got your uniform on or your tie shorts or whatever it is, and then you're in the gym, and that's you're in a place where everybody's accepted, just as a good guy or whatever it is. And it's a brilliant part of the martial arts that people don't. I
yeah.
mean, you go to a football match, it's that those supporters versus those supporters, that team versus that team. And I know you get that in martial arts competition, but the actual training part of it, there's people from every single walk of life that are together, and it's brilliant. And you'll have that obviously at your gym as well.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Okay, so right, let's move on a wee bit then, because this is the benefit. MD will hear my dog's going crazy. This is the benefit of recording in the house. He'll calm down eventually. But you mentioned one championship. So again, for people that don't know, and again, you can correct me here, Damien, but one championship is probably the it probably started as the Asian counterpart of the UFC. Is that fair? Is
Yeah.
that fair sort of reflection?
Yeah, it started off just as MMA,
Yeah,
and then after so long, then they incorporated the Muay Thai and the kickboxing.
yeah. So the Muay Thai that people would have seen, if they haven't sort of focused in on one championship, would be with boxing gloves in a ring, uh, and then in one championship it's in a cage. As you say, it did start as mixed martial arts, but even the grappling competitions are done in the cage now. Thai boxing in the cage with 4 ounce gloves. So,
Depends on the event, because
right,
they do one championships every Friday in Lumpini Stadium.
okay, right, brilliant.
That's in a ring. So like it depends on
Yeah,
sometimes in the cage, sometimes in a ring. So you just can't. But most of the time on the big one championship events, it's a cage.
yeah.
But then Friday, it's in the ring.
So, how from someone, I mean, when you started watching mixed martial arts and they had the 4 ounce gloves on, which are much smaller than the boxing gloves, did it ever occur to you that one day people would be fighting Muay Thai without that additional protection? Because it
Um,
changes the guard and everything. It completely
the thing
changes.
is though, like what you I don't know if you know, but like bare knuckle Muay Thai or it's been going on for a long time in Thailand. Like they'll fight with Burma. So, it's not
Yeah,
technically a new thing as such. But then like Wayne Parr from Australia, I think he did it first for the MMA gloves.
yep,
Did a
yep,
few events, and then one championships has obviously come along. But then there's been other events in Thailand as well, but they had the card jerk, which is like looks like they got rope on the hands,
Oh
but
yeah,
they're MMA gloves underneath. They got the rope to make it look like traditional, and they're fighting. And
right.
then I feel like there's been a few other events where it's been like the 4 ounce gloves. So it's not new. It's been around for a while. There's a couple of things that One Championship have done. Everyone's raved on about. Like they had the fight with Rod Tang and Demetrius Johnson, where
Brilliant.
it's
Yep.
where it's like one round Muay Thai, next round
Yep.
MMA, Muay Thai MMA, and everyone said, "Oh, like, this is amazing." But if you watch the K1 in Japan in the 90s, they did the same thing. They had K1 Dynamite, where it's one round kickboxing, one round MMA. So like they're not new things, but obviously because of social media and people are able to access things a lot easier, it's being pushed out and like bringing it through.
What's the main difference then from the spectacle and from the technical aspect of moving from the ring to the cage and also moving from the larger gloves to the smaller gloves? So someone ultimately the rules are generally the same. Obviously, there's small differences being with the area that you're fighting in, but from someone like yourself who's got tons of experience, what's the difference between fighting with those smaller gloves in a cage as opposed to the way that, and I know you've
Say,
highlighted there that this has been done before, but overall, people would usually think of Muay Thai in a
yeah.
ring with the boxing gloves.
I've never competed in a cage, but I've trained in a cage. So obviously this is just going by from sparring, not really
Yeah,
from actual competing. But obviously like in the ring, you can kind of use the ropes to your advantage where like you might come at me, throw a shot, I can lean on the rope to get out of the way, and I can kind of use that rope to come in
yeah,
and counter and whatever. Um Obviously I can't do that in a cage. Once I hit the cage, I'm stuck. I
yeah,
can't get out of the way. So like it's a bit difficult in that aspect. I haven't got the same spring to get back. Um in the ring you can cut people off a lot easier because it's square.
mhm,
Obviously, in the cage, it's circle, apart from the UFC one, where they've got the rights to that, but everything else is circle.
yeah.
So it's hard to cut someone off. They can just kind of keep going. The 4 ounce gloves, it's a lot harder to defend. You can't really shell up as much. Like there's different ways, but so obviously it's a bit harder to defend the punches,
Yeah.
which is why in some aspects, the Muay Thai and the 4 ounce gloves is a lot more harmful than MMA because in MMA I can take it down and not get punched in the head. Where
Indeed.
in Muay
Yeah,
Thai it's a little bit difficult to. I can clinch up, but
yeah.
again, like I can't do it for too long because I'll separate it quite quick if there's no action. So
That's a
it's a bit different. Also, you've got to be a little bit more precise with your punching because you can break your hands a lot easier.
yep.
A lot of people don't seem to realize boxing gloves to protect your hand, not to protect the person's head.
Yeah,
So like, you've got to be a little bit more careful with the MMA gloves.
yep. Do you know, it was again. It's this is one of the main sort of the main sort of pleasures and enjoyment I get from speaking to people like yourself, uh, where the knowledge, the martial arts knowledge, is just there and it's just coming out. Regarding a lot of people look at MMA and Thai boxing, obviously, where you can clinch, as opposed to boxing, as being more brutal, not realizing how important tying your opponent up or taking your opponent down can actually be to how important that is to defending yourself. And I was watching. Generally, I'm usually on social media watching fights or on the TV watching fights, and the opponents went out of my head now, but it was Lomachenko's fight a couple of matches ago where he was arguing with the referee and arguing with his opponent's coaches to say, you need to stop this fight.
Oh yeah, no, yeah,
You know what I'm talking about? And he's
yeah.
literally battering the head off the guy. And again, in MMA, some they could clinch, they could try and take him to the floor and just sort of recover a wee bit. Whereas, as you say, with the punching only, it's just hit after hit after hit, and people don't
So this
realise
is
that.
yeah, and I think in like a short space of things, I'd probably say like your Muay Thai and MMA is a little bit more brutal as such with what you can get, but long term boxing is probably a lot worse because like 90% of it's to the head. Um, it's just constant like getting obviously rattled around. So later on in life, you're probably gonna get more effects from boxing than you are.
Yeah.
I'm obviously like the MMA or Muay Thai.
Is that something that concerns you? I had a neuropathologist, Dr. Willie Stewart, on the podcast, and Dr. Stewart's done a lot of work with the Scottish Rugby Union Association, and he's done a lot of the research into that sort of contact in rugby, and also heading the football as well. And as I say, that's what he does. He's ultimately a brain surgeon. And he was a wonderful guest to have on the podcast, and lots of knowledge. But is that something that concerned you at the time as a fighter, and now with your own
At
coaches, your
at
own students? Sorry.
yeah, at the time, no. Now, obviously, it does kind of play in my mind as if to say, I wonder what I've actually done, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah, of course.
um, I don't think I sound slurred when I'm talking, so I'm all right in that aspect. My short-term memory isn't that good, but then when I speak to other people that haven't been punched in the head and they're about my age, their short-term memory is not that good. So, like I won't know until later on
Yeah,
what it's done. But like I've read up on a few things, and I've looked at some people that obviously I study it and I go over that. I've been quite lucky to where that I have been obviously hitting the head. I have took some hard shots, but not as many as others where I've seen some people go down quite bad.
yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping, fingers crossed, I'm
No,
better on.
you don't sound affected at all by it. Now that we have that, well, you'll know from when you started to now, are you and your fellow full contact coaches more aware that you've got to be protecting the kids a wee bit more and your fighters, or is that
Yeah,
purely
but so a lot me
your
personally, I don't really push kids to compete. Just that's just me.
yep,
Um,
yep.
obviously what we're talking about now, and as well, to be honest, sometimes some of the parents get a little bit pushy,
Mhm.
so I just kind of leave it. I'll just kind of leave it and wait until they get a little bit older, when they
Yep.
understand it a little bit more, then I'll kind of push them, obviously from there. But I think like looking at a lot of things in a few years, there might be a lot of legal things coming up about kids who've
Yep.
had attacked, not just in fighting, but in football, in rugby, and so not like they're doing things in rugby and football now.
Yep.
But that's it's not going to take some before it transitions over into obviously the combat sports world as well.
I think you mentioned this again earlier on about sparring, and even in semi-contact taekwondo, we've definitely changed from, and obviously I was a young child. I started when I was 5, and when I started, actually, there wasn't very many females at all. There wasn't very many kids. My instructor at the time, my mum and dad actually badgered him to let me join the class, and he was like, "No, he has to be a wee bit older." And then eventually he gave in. But just talking to who was actually training there, it was mostly 20 something aged sort of men who really enjoyed the sort of sparring aspect of it more than the traditional sort of patterns and kata side of things, and would ultimately show up 2 and 3 times, 4 times a week and batter hell at each other. And that full culture has changed a wee bit now. And I
Yeah.
think behind that is the fact that they know the damage that can actually do.
But this is like I get into debates quite often on social media about hard sparring because a lot of people seem to think you've got to do hard sparring to be able to take it in the ring
Right,
or
okay.
a cage. But that's not the case at all. Like we spoke about at the very start, um, you've got it or you haven't, right? I'm not saying that you can't develop into a fighter. What I mean is, um, some people, like you say, will take a step back when they get hit. Some people will take a step forwards.
Yep,
If you're one of them people that doesn't like being hit and going back, no amount of hard sparring is going to get you to a position where you think, you know what, I'm gonna you're just not gonna come back to class.
yep, yep.
That's like so if you're one of them people where you have like one hard round of sparring, but you come back the next day, you've got it. So like it just doesn't prove anything. You don't need to spar hard to learn to take a hit. Your training does that. You can do conditioning drills. You can have competitive sparring, not hard. Like it's not the same thing.
Yep.
but getting battered doesn't get you prepared for having a fight.
So just and you've stated this categorically already, but just to ask that direct question, there's no, there doesn't have to be a place for banging the head off each other sparring now.
No,
Yeah,
it's just like I said, I've wrote like a blog about this like a few years ago, and it went like quite like viral. But like if I'm sparring with you
yep,
and I'm going like a bit too hard, one, you're gonna think I'm a bit of a dick, and you're not really gonna want to like spar with me. And then what will happen is then you're not gonna try anything. You're gonna be going backwards because you're only get hit hard. Then if I keep doing that to everybody, I'll get used to people being like yourself, moving away, not engaging. When I go to have a real fight, that person's not gonna walk off. He's gonna come and fight with me. I don't know how to deal with it because I'm used to people running away. Whereas if I'm sparring you lightly, I might catch you with something. You can kind of assess, well, okay, I got caught. Why did I get caught? Or maybe my hand was down, or maybe I stepped too far this way. I'll adjust it next time. So I'm
yep,
used to someone attacking me, so I can. So like, you'll you'll get more benefits from competitive light sparring. And when I say light spar, I don't mean like really tapping. You can
yep,
go like a little bit, but you're not trying to obviously be malicious and try and hurt each other.
yep. Yeah, I'm definitely on the same path, even from what I know of full contact combat, and that there's no real purpose. One of the points I wanted to ask you about, because Taekwondo's in the Olympics as well, and with the Japanese Olympics coming up in karate, Thai boxing had, there was talk about Thai boxing for a while, wasn't there? Where
Muay
is it?
Thai is
Yeah,
now recognized as an Olympic sport,
right, okay.
right? So what happens is, this is to my knowledge,
Mhm.
there's a list of sports that are recognized. I think like kickboxing's in it as well.
Yep,
And then every country that gets to host the Olympics, they're allowed to pick, I think it might be six new sports to go into the Olympics to try and bring new eyes. So, but they can only pick from that list.
right.
So Muay Thai could, at some stage, go in, which is obviously what the IFMA, which is the International Muay Thai Federation, something.
Yep,
It's they're the ones that are the governing body, which is recognised by the Olympic Committee.
right.
So they're the ones that are trying to like push it. Like I was in Malaysia last year, so I was brought over to teach like the coaches that were with their team, and like the some of the kids and that around the world, they're like phenomenal. And they're all fighting, and this is how it would be if he gets into the Olympics.
Yeah, it's, I know from, there's many different associations in my own art of Taekwondo, and there's only one of those organisations which is recognised by the IOC, and
Yeah,
it's only fighters or competitors from that association that can go forward. Is the
yeah,
Muay
exactly
Thai,
the same.
yes, is the Muay Thai community united behind that? Is that something that there is only one, or is it
Um,
segment?
I'm I'm gonna guess it might be the same in Taekwondo, but no, it's all everyone's doing what they want to do, and they're
Yeah,
all fighting and bickering to try and get to the top. It's just when I speak to other people in other martial arts, they're all in the
yeah.
same kind of predicament. Not everyone gets along.
I think I'll tell you an art which has got it down to a T is judo, and they've been Olympic based for obviously years and years, and they seem
Okay,
to have. If you walk into 99% of the judo schools and anywhere in the UK, you've got a direct line through to the Olympics, and Taekwondo's changed dramatically from even how it looked. The first time Taekwondo went to the Olympics was 1988, and if you were looking at what it looks like now, it's, you wouldn't even say that it's the same martial art, but that's maybe a discussion for another day. But that surely must be a benefit from you as someone who has dedicated their full life to Muay Thai. Here's a question, Damien, right? And this might be, here's a question. I think it's bordering on, I'll get shot down by the Taekwondo people for saying this. I think it's now bordering on being a bad thing for our art overall. that were in the Olympics because it's changed. It's been watered down so much.
I
I go the same way.
obviously yes. Say when you look at, because when I was at the IFMA tournament for the juniors, they had to do like a judging course. So I kind of sat in the judging course, and obviously the way it's scored is very different to professional, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of
Which again,
course, right.
what's it's going to cause a conflict between people. I don't think you can argue with how it would be scored in the Olympics. That's just how it is. So you got to deal with it. You know, like there's no point saying that's not right. That's just how it's scored for that
Yeah,
specific rule set, if that makes sense. Um, on my social media, obviously I get all different martial artists commenting. Most of the time it's nice. Sometimes I get it's not. And to be honest, a lot of the crap that I get are from Taekwondo guys,
yeah,
and then a lot of it is from people arguing with the specifics on the Olympic style Taekwondo, and then the other, it's just kind
yeah.
of, and it just kind of goes back and forth.
Tell me about it, mate. Tell me about it. Yeah, it's a total. It's a nightmare. But I would really hate that. One, I would describe Muay Thai as being pure. There has to be an essence there, and this goes right back to how we started the discussion. There's a you can't you can't pretend in any full contact combat sport, Muay Thai, mixed martial arts, boxing, full contact kickboxing, whatever it is. There's that purity there that many in my community in Taekwondo, we are really hating the way it's going, and I would hate for that to happen for you guys in the Muay Thai community as well. One other thing that I want to chat to you about, I promise I'll not keep you too much longer, is social media. You touched on it there again, but how long have you been doing martial arts now, like roughly?
29 years, nearly 30 years, I think.
Right, it's very similar to myself. So when we started, obviously social media wasn't a thing, and you mentioned Raymond Decker earlier on, and if you were, it would be like in a magazine, or you would hear people talking about someone like Raymond Decker, or oh, you never believe how this fight went, or
Yeah.
and that was great. And we had the same. We would bring certain masters or grandmasters over from America or wherever it was to teach seminars, and that was the only access you got apart from the combat magazine and all of these sort of things
Yeah.
we had in the past. Now we've got access. As I say, I watch tons of stuff on your channel, on all different martial arts channels. That surely got to, or is it? Is that a good thing that we have so much access to so much technical teaching and training now? Does it have bad elements, social media for martial arts? What do you think?
I think it's good and bad. I think obviously it's very good because you can have access to a great deal of coaches that know what they're doing. They're putting good content out, so you can see what's working. It's also bad because you can get some people that don't really know what they're doing, and again, they're putting stuff out, and people believe
Yeah,
like what they're saying. Like I said, some of the comments they get, like I specify what I teach. My way is not the only way. There's so many other ways to do certain techniques that are just as proficient. But again, there is stuff that's very, very bad, and you
yeah,
shouldn't really do it because it can get you kind of hurt. And I'll get people like comments, "Oh, I should do it this way, I should do it that way." And it's like that's really dangerous, especially if you're trying to do it on someone who knows like what they're doing.
yeah,
And but again, with social media, I think what's happening is because everyone likes to be a little bit famous, so they're putting stuff out. Like in there, I don't know if it's like this in the Taekwondo, but so like at the moment, there's so many events in Muay Thai now in this country.
yeah,
But then because there's so many events, there's a lot of people putting their names down to fight. I think just so they can get on a poster, get a bit of glory for a bit, and then they
yeah,
pull out like a week before, 2 weeks before, as the fight gets closer, and they pull out, and obviously then the fight that has been training kind of like obviously gets let down. Whereas like you just said, like back in our day, when like I was competing like the early career, to just be a poster, maybe a picture on the poster. And that's it. That's all the.
Yep.
So you just train for, got a bit of recognition on the night. Afterwards, you didn't hear of it again unless it got put in Combat Magazine or Martial Arts Illustrated or anything. So
Yeah.
I think social media is good and bad, but obviously, the main thing is obviously people have got a lot of access to really good content out there from people.
Brilliant, Damien. As I say, again, from a fan's point of view, from a fellow martial artist point of view, it's worth saying that, as I say, one of the things I've found about doing the podcast, which I've done for a number of years now, a couple of years, is just you were one of the guys, Damien Trainor was one of the guys that you knew about before social media. There's so many guys that you know about now, and I'm saying this isn't Damien Trainor saying this, by the way. I'm saying this you only know about because of social media. And I'm not asking you for your opinion on it. You kind of gave it there, but one of the main benefits of doing the podcast, I say, from a fan of martial arts, is that you meet people and you get a chance to talk to people like yourself, and just the humbleness that comes through, and the openness, and the willingness to engage has just been tremendous. So I can only thank you for that. I really can. That's probably the best experience I've had for the podcast, is speaking to people like yourself who make time for us. So thanks. See, before I let you go, Damien, can you give us a rundown? I know it's on Instagram that I follow you, but can you give us a wee note of your Instagram handles, your website, where people can access actually training videos and stuff of you? Would that be all right?
Yeah, that's no problem. Obviously, my Instagram's Trainor, Trainor 103. So obviously you can obviously look at a lot of my contents on there. I've got a website which is damientrainor.com. I've got a lot of blogs on there as well if anyone's kind of interested in like read about my experiences when I lived in Thailand and stuff.
Yeah.
I've got like a full length instructional tutorial just on the Warrior Collective's like marketplace. You can just go straight to their website, or you can get to the link which is on my bio in my Instagram. And then obviously my gym's in Birmingham. If anyone's ever in Birmingham, I'm just dropping for a bit, they're more than welcome.
And the name of your gym, Damien, again, please.
It's K-Star Legacy.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Damien. Okay, right, guys, that was Damien Trainor, who we had on, 2 times world Muay Thai champion, is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Brilliant. Absolute legend, buddy. I'm so chuffed that you agreed to come on for an hour and join the podcast. So thank you so
No, it's
much.
been a pleasure.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Damien. And this will be uploaded over the next couple of days, guys. All righty. Thank you so much, Damien. Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Take
Take
care.
care.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
pal. Thank you.